flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Madam Clerk, first item.
Roll call. Councilwoman Baker? Here. Councilman Galloway?
Here.
Councilman Lennon?
Here.
Councilwoman Piana? Here. And Mayor Covey?
Here as well, all accounted for. Next item.
Approval of the agenda.
Are there any changes or requests with regards to the agenda tonight?
We do have a request to add a public hearing for an outdoor service area at Club Bart. Be added to the last of the public hearing.
Thank you. We appreciate that. I'm sure Club Bart appreciates that as well. So we'll put that then under item C, 5C.
I would move that we approve the agenda with the amendment from the city clerk.
Second.
Thank you. Motion made and seconded. Baker, Piana. Discussion, Madam Clerk?
Council members Baker? Yes. Galloway?
Yes.
Lennon?
Yes.
Piana?
Yes.
And Mayor Covey?
Yes as well. Passes. Next item, Madam Clerk.
Presentation from the Downtown Development Authority.
Chris Hughes is making her way to the podium.
Good evening. I think I neglected to remind Dell that I needed the computer, so I'll wing it. I'm sorry. I apologize, but I'm happy to be here on behalf of the GDA. I'm here to share with you the good news about Fido Does Ferndale. And we all love a good dog story, and the Fido Does Ferndale this year is going to be on third Thursday, July 15th. It's going to be better than ever. We've got lots and lots of sponsors that have bought into this event. We have a brand new chairperson by the name of Katie Wright, who has been going to town and is an enthusiastic dog lover and actually shows the power of a volunteer because she's taken on this whole event herself. We have more than 28 vendors where you can buy cool stuff for your dogs. We're going to have a pooch parade at 6 p.m. We will have a canine treasure hunt from 7 to 9 at 20 of our downtown merchants, and they're going to be giving out dog treats, like 300 of them, like crazy stuff for dogs. It'd be a good night to be a dog. If you got one, bring it on downtown. Our headquarters will be at Schiffer Park at Planavon and 9 Mile, and we will have the Oakland County stage there for our dog tricks and all that good kind of stuff. So in light of the fact that I had so many pretty pictures to show you, and y'all would have gone ooh and ah and all that kind of stuff, let me just wrap it up by saying it's going to be a doggone good time that Thursday, third Thursday, in downtown Ferndale. Now, I did want to bring up a couple other points which are more good news. I like to bring the good news to the table. We've got more businesses opening up in downtown Ferndale. I think they're worthy of note. We've got Rouge, a nail and makeup salon over on Woodward. We've got a I'm not totally sure what it's going to be yet, but at 255 West 9 Mile, a new business going in there, a new vinyl record store on Woodward, cupcakes and sweet treats called Treat Dreams. That's going to open up on Woodward also. So things are going well in downtown Ferndale, and I am happy to be here to report that. And thank you for your time. And come on down on third Thursday, July 15th.
Chris, I can bring Gizmo, my cat, to that event.
If you dare.
All right.
One thing I would like to add, it was on the slide, but I forgot. We are in partnership with Wags and Wishes, which is a downtown Ferndale, not a downtown, but a Ferndale Rescue League, which we're very happy to be partnering with. They will be at the event, and you can adopt a new best friend
Thank you,
in case you don't have one. Okay, thank you.
July 15th. Thank you. Next item, Madam Clerk.
Presentation of the Ferndale Beautification Commission Awards for June.
Peggy Snow making her way to the podium.
Yes, good evening,
Greetings.
Council. June, July, and August, and September, the Beautification Commission always selects properties to give awards to, and these are the ones we selected for June. The commercial one is Craig Martin Sports and Event Management at 963 Allen Road, and that's where Roy's Radio was for so many years. And some of you people who've lived here a while will remember that. And it was kind of interesting because I had just gotten my copy of The Crow's Nest when we selected this one, and they were talking about Roy's Radio in there, and I thought that was kind of interesting. But anyway, he's done a beautiful job over there of dressing up the property, and of course, the front looks nice, but he was nominated by many neighbors who also pointed out that he did a lot of work in the back. He has a nice patio area back there. So he was our commercial for June. And the residential is Orlando and Deidre Padilla at 720 Leroy. And it's a beautiful, I kind of call it like a Victorian-looking property. It looks very, very nice. Lots of nice, unique touches to it. And they've lived there 11 years, and they've planted a lot of trees, and they have a rock garden, and they have a beautiful garden between the sidewalk and the street. And when I spoke with them, they thought that they've gone up to the Historical Society, and their house was built in 1917, and they kind of thought it might be the oldest house in Ferndale, so it's not. Which one is? Do you know? Or?
The only story I know is about the one that got torn down on Hilton. So.
Oh, okay.
Hopefully that wasn't the oldest one.
It was for a while.
Anyway, well,
Oops.
but it's an old one anyway. And then last we have Natalie Nunnally at 455 East Saratoga. She's a young mom with a couple of little kids, and she has a beautiful property. She's really dressed it up front and back. In the backyard, it's all designed for the kids to have areas to play in, and their dad bought them a pool, and she had to work around that and whatever, and it really looks very nice. The front yard's very small, but very attractive. And I wanted to point out in the Free Press last Saturday, in the Homestyle section, they had listed a few porches all around the area. It was called Parade of Porches, and one house owned by Ray and Joanne Brownie of Ferndale, I recognized that we had given an award. I looked it up. It was in 2001 that they got an award. But I thought it was really kind of great to see the picture in the Free Press of it, too. Nice to see them recognized. I'd like to thank Pat Curtin, who every year he drives his nice car in the parade with us. Going back about 10 years, we had a member who couldn't walk the parade, so Pat was kind enough to join us. And it seems like every year we have somebody who needs a ride. This year, Dina had knee surgery, so she got to be in the parade because of his generosity, so I wanted to thank him. And if anyone has any homes they'd like to nominate, and we're also looking for block awards. Not every house has to look great, but the majority, if you think it looks nice, call the DPW, and Roseanne will pass that information along to us. Thank you.
Thanks. Peggy Snow and her committee does a lot to make Ferndale beautiful. Let's give her a quick round of applause. Thank you, Ms. Snow. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
We have a public hearing for a redevelopment liquor license for Torino Espresso Bar, LLC at 201 East 9 Mile Road.
Thank you. Mr. Brenner, would you be able to introduce?
Be happy to, Your Honor. The city has received an application for a new on-premises liquor license. The city's liquor license review committee met to review that application back on June 16th. There was no objections to the application raised at that time. The staff reviewed the city's policy and criterion on liquor license transfers. So rather than have me talk further about that, we have the applicant here to give a brief presentation about the proposed business.
Super. Would you like to give a brief presentation for us on the new?
I will do my best to make it brief.
Thank you, sir.
We do have some PowerPoint presentation, if that would be okay to present to you. What we would like to do is open up a espresso bar called a Torino. Our idea is to have a modern Italian cafe experience. Very similar to what you would find throughout Europe. I don't want to read to you what you probably are able to read on your own, but essentially we want to do a very high-quality product line of espresso products, food products, spirits, wines, etc., and present a product line that at various times is appropriate, as appropriate throughout the day. So we'll open at 6 a.m., and provide coffees, espressos, and appropriate food products, and continue on through into the evening, 11 and 12 o'clock on certain evenings, and Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays, most likely till 2 a.m. We will not have dancing activities there. This will not be a nightclub or that sort of an environment. It will be more of a low-key, down-tempo music. There will be outdoor area also that's available to us. And, of course, we're talking about a space, if you go to the next slide, that is located, not exactly the best rendition of it. Well, it's located on the west end of the Lofts on 9 building that I was also associated with building here over the last year or so. So that is the layout of the project. It's about 1,400 square feet. There will be outdoor seating on the far west end. You can see there's a small bar area, but there will be a variety of different sorts of seating so that it's a comfortable lounge environment with adequate lighting so people can sit and use their computers at certain times. Of course, in the evening, the lighting will change in certain parts, but our hope is to be able to accommodate a variety of different consumers and their needs. The next couple of slides are depictions of what we hope it will look like, and obviously it's not coming through very well, so we won't be able to show you that. There's an example here of a menu that we will be serving. There will be breakfast items available, the traditional granolas and fruits, etc., salads, paninis, platters as we go on through the day. And, of course, there will be beer, wine, cocktails, and a variety of coffee and espresso products. Next, Jim. Well, this is myself. I'm Joel Dorfman. I am the managing partner of North Star Partners in Bloomfield Hills. And, of course, you can read the rest of my resume or my biography. I'm very interested in doing this project here. I am a property owner here in Ferndale in both the Lofts project and the church that's next door to it, which we do hope to develop in the next couple of years. And I have a long history in this community and business, so I am looking forward to this opportunity. We have a very strong management team combined with those of us with experience and some young folks with more energy that have a lot of experience both in managing coffee and espresso bars and in managing bars and with a food service background. So we're very fortunate to have that team. In terms of our mission, it is to provide the freshest and highest quality espresso, coffee, Mediterranean and Italian influenced cuisine, eclectic cocktails, beer and wine from around the world in a tranquil environment. The ambiance, again, will not be a bar sort of an environment, but really one that's quiet and down-tempo and designed so that people will want to spend time there, and families will be welcome. It's not an environment where if you bring your children at certain times of the day, you would feel uncomfortable that they're there. It certainly will not be that sort of place. In terms of investments, we have invested or will invest $125,000 in the furniture, fixtures, and equipment. We will also be investing $25,000 to upgrade, create the white box in addition to the $300,000 we've already spent to produce the existing facility that's there that this space will occupy. In terms of parking, which was an area of concern, we walked the area, and within a half a mile of us, there are over 1,000 metered spots, which we feel is quite adequate. And within one block of us, there are 189 metered spaces. Jim, if you go to the next slide, please. And you can see the breakdown of those. So we're comfortable that there's adequate parking all around us. You know, we think that the espresso bar will be a great fit in Ferndale. We believe it will be a significant draw to the east side of 9 Mile Road, where, of course, there's a lot of activity right now. And we think it will support the businesses that are on that, in that area. And so we're sort of excited that we can now move the city of Ferndale continuously towards the east, where it's so dominantly, it's been so dominant on the west side. Next slide, please. Our hours of operation will be Sunday through Wednesday, 6 a.m. to 11 p.m., on Thursdays through Saturdays, 6 a.m. to 2 a.m. In addition to that, a few other comments. It is our intention to provide discount pricing to Ferndale residents, to those who work in the Ferndale area, and so that will be one of our plans. I've spent a lot of time in the Coconut Grove area in Florida, and in Coconut Grove they have something they call a Code 33, which is the zip code, 33133. If you walk into Baskin-Robbins in Coconut Grove and you order an ice cream cone and you say Code 33, they give you 10% discount. And so what they want to do is encourage people in that community to support their community businesses. And so from that idea, we feel we should do the same thing here and start that in Ferndale, where community businesses provide discounts and incentives for those in the community to stay right here and use services in Ferndale. So that will be another one of the programs that we would like to put together. We have received a lot of support from our tenants at Lofts on the Nine. I think we got more than half of them to provide us with supporting letters. We got no negative letters, but we didn't get a letter from every single one of them, which I guess is not that easy to do. And we got a large number of the businesses that already have Class C licenses on this side of Woodward also to sign I'll call it a petition. It's not exactly that, but a letter indicating their support of what we're doing. And I gave those to the deputy clerk, so she has that information also. I think that's kind of a good summary of what we're planning to do. So if you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
It's a great presentation, Mr. Dorfman. Very well done. What our process will be is we will hold our public hearing first. Then the council will have an opportunity to ask any questions that they may have pursuant to a motion. But
would you like me to stay up here?
You can relax there if you like.
Sit down, thank you.
Sure. My guess is the public hearing will be brief. We'll see. So this now is the time and place called for the public hearing in our council chambers to consider the application from Joel Dorfman, Torino Espresso Bar, for the purposes of a new restaurant located at 201 East 9 Mile Road. Would anyone in the room like to speak during this public hearing on that issue? Come forward.
Yeah, my name is Bart Starks. I'm the owner of Club Bart here in Ferndale for going on 13 years. And I wanted to welcome Mr. Dorfman here. It's nice to have another restaurant, espresso bar. But it comes down to my same concern is the parking situation. On any given night here, especially on the weekends, he counted, I don't know what 1,300 parking meters. Well, in 13 years I've been here, within the past several months, is the first time I've actually had to park my vehicle down the street on the weekends, down by the police station or further. And if he's developed these properties over here, including the lots, which are great for the city of Ferndale, they also own the church, might make a good parking lot. Maybe we should consider knocking that over and just retaining that property for his espresso bar, which is, I think, something we need. That's my comment.
Thank you, Mr. Starks. Anyone else like to speak? All right, don't be shy. Oh, Sherry, you would never be shy, would you?
There are times you don't know me. Sherry Wells, 315 West Troy. A few years ago, 3 of us counted 26 places to sit and drink alcohol 1/4 mile northwest and south of 9 and Woodward, so it's interesting that now we're now moving east. I like the idea of low tempo. I hope they can keep that way so that the people on the east side of Woodward don't have the torture that those on the west side without a low tempo bar, more about that later this evening, would have.
Thank you, Ms. Wells. Anyone else wish to speak during the public hearing? Not seeing anyone come forward, we'll close the public hearing and now move to the council to see if there's any requests for information. I want to just confirm that this went through the liquor committee, which the council formed a number of years ago to look at issues like noise and sound and parking and such, and it did.
That's correct. The Liquor License Review Committee met on June 16th. A representative of the Downtown Development Authority was there. We talked about parking briefly, but the DDA did not object to this application on the grounds of parking.
And the police department, are they signing off on this as well?
Yeah, the Department of Public Works, Police Department, I believe there's Community Development, Fire Department, all the relevant city departments were represented, and nobody had any objections.
Council members.
Yeah, I had a question for Mr. Dorfman. Mr. Dorfman, parking, as Mr. Starks brought up, is always an issue when a new business like this, that's a draw, that's a place of assembly, essentially, opens up. You reference 0.5 miles as the range for this 1,009 meter parking spots. Why 0.5 miles?
Do you mind, Mr. Joel, do you mind going back up? Sorry about that. Thanks.
It was just an arbitrary number to think about what's the longest distance somebody might be willing to walk to come to this area.
And that's exactly what I'm getting at, as I'm sure you anticipate. We get all sorts of reports that people will walk only so far for this kind of establishment, or they'll walk further for a different kind. Do you have any information as to how far someone will walk for a coffee and bar?
I'm sorry, I don't have any demographic information on that.
Okay. And, all right, I mean, you anticipate this being somewhat a community-type establishment, drawing folks from the neighborhoods as well. So
Yes.
the likelihood of 94 spots being necessary, 94 people coming, each in their own car, seems a bit unrealistic. Is that your business plan, or is that how you see things?
I would see that as being unrealistic. I would expect people to walk there. I would expect people to be on the other side of Woodward potentially and decide they wanted to come there. I think in the mornings, people will come directly there. So at various times and on different days, you'll have different sort of constituency that will use our services.
And the lofts on 9 are fully occupied now, is that what I understand, or close to fully occupied with renters?
Yes, that's correct.
And is that parking lot at all open to patrons of the coffee shop or the cafe?
Which parking lot?
Yeah, within the building?
No.
No, that's entirely for tenants or what
Yes.
have you. And other than the parking spots for the tenants, there is no on-site parking, is that correct?
There's no on-site parking, other than the metered parking that's around the building.
Councilman? That's it. Excuse me. Any other? Yes, ma'am.
Another question, and it's for our deputy clerk. I wonder, and you may not know, Marnie, but would the outdoor seating that they're proposing, would that require an additional sidewalk cafe permit? Would they need to come back to you if they get their liquor license approved in order to get that approved?
If they're going to be on the city sidewalk, it would need to.
Okay, but because they're
Investor
under
knowledge.
the building overhang, that's not, they don't
If
need
it
to come.
doesn't impede on the city sidewalk, then they wouldn't need to be licensed through us.
Yeah, their proposed patio is on their private property. It's not a city sidewalk cafe.
Anything else, Councilwoman?
That's it.
Mike? No, I'm all set. Councilwoman Piana? Anything?
Yeah, I just had some questions, and I don't know if, Kate, you can answer it, but I was just wondering what the zoning ordinance said in terms of parking requirements. I know it meets it. I was just wondering if you could
Within the
refresh my memory.
Within the DDA area, you are not required to provide any additional parking in order to open a new establishment really of any type. It's one of the conversations that I know the DDA board and their parking committee have been having about whether or not that should still stand in downtown Ferndale if we're really able to still accommodate that type of blanket regulation.
Okay.
Mr. Dorfman, I have a question for you. This sounds like a very, very neat place with flavors of Europe and espresso, which I love. Why did you pick Ferndale, or do you think, what makes you think it will work in the location that you're looking at right over there?
Well, for the same reasons we located our Loft on 9 project here. I mean, we believe Ferndale is a wonderful community. We think that based on the people I've spoken to and those that even rent our commercial space, which is now fully leased, that repeatedly we hear Ferndale is a place that people want to come to. And you know, our other options, I guess you might say, would have been Birmingham or Royal Oak, would have been other communities you might have put in the same breath. But because of our investment here in Ferndale and the Loft project and our experience here, we felt this was the right place for us to do this project.
And we have been talking and promoting, and I think it's working incredibly well, of this city as being walkable. That you see lots of folks downtown walking all the time now. Do you see that some of your customers are going to be folks that are already downtown doing things and walking around?
We certainly hope so. I mean, we hope that the businesses that are located here will utilize our services, and we hope to be able to utilize theirs. We hope people who reside in the community will look to us as a place where they can get quality food, they can get quality drinks, coffees, and again, we will be one of the few facilities that has a broad spectrum of services, being open from 6 a.m. till 2 a.m. on certain days. And so, you know, we think we will service a very wide range of citizenry here and people who work here in Ferndale.
I hope the employees that work till 2 don't have to get up and work till
I hope they don't.
Do you see any kind of symbiotic relationship with our new $4 million library that's opening in a couple of weeks?
Oh, I think it will be very complimentary. You know, I do think that people who are visiting the library, I mean, they will come across the street, we hope, and visit us. And I suspect there is some things we could do with the library to encourage that by working with them. But I do think it's very important where we're located, across from the library, with the law offices nearby, the city offices nearby, the comedy store, and the residential area that we're in along with the Lofts project. I think we have a lot of people who will utilize our services that are just literally living there or working in the community.
Sure. Like a metropolitan area.
It should, yep.
With a walkable
exactly.
European flavor. All right, Mr. Dorfman, thank you.
Thank you.
If there's no further requests for information, are there any motions to be made tonight?
I would move that we approve a new on-site premise Class C liquor license issued under MCL 436.1521A with SDM license, Sunday sales permit, outdoor service area, and official permit for food to Torino Espresso Bar, LLC, pursuant to the On-Premises Public Act, to be located at 201 East 9 Mile Road in Ferndale, located in the DDA and approved at the above location above all others.
Support.
Motion made and seconded, Galloway and Baker. Any discussion? I just want to share I'm really excited about this. I see this as very unique and different from some of the other restaurants and things that we have, and I think it's just going to be one more addition to an amazing downtown. Yes.
The only thing to add is that, as Councilwoman Piana brought up and as Bart brought up, there are some serious parking issues, as we all know, in downtown Ferndale. The east side, it has been shown through several studies, and daytime and evening counts is not yet as much of a crunch as the west side, but with hopefully the inevitable expansion of our downtown that will be coming. So just for us to keep top of mind and to keep diligent in our work with the DDA to try and resolve that parking issue.
Correct. Well spoken. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I wanted to echo that with parking, that we do have a problem, and that the DDA is looking at fixing or proposing some new options for us to consider. And I also call on all residents and businesses to become transit advocates, because as we continue to grow, we will always have demand on our parking, even when we develop structures. So as we attract and build more loft developments and apartments and things like that. So we need another way to get to Ferndale other than autos and building for cars. So I encourage people to become transit advocates and make sure that we bring that type of mass transit to Ferndale. I also would just hear that we should consider, the city should consider helping what I would call transit ready, helping businesses provide incentives to their employees to perhaps take the bus or provide on-site parking and security for their employees and other types of incentives for transit as well. So that's something that we can do to help alleviate pressure off our parking system. So I'm looking for towards the future. So that's something I would think that we can do to help solve the parking problem that we have, so long-term.
Absolutely. And Mr. Dorfman, I'd encourage you to put a bike rack out there in front of your new place. On the way here tonight, going past Rosie O'Grady's, there's 7 or 8 bicycles locked up. And you'll find a lot of folks in this town use bicycles to get around, and that's one less car spot being used up. Madam Clerk, can we have a vote on this issue?
Certainly. Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember Lennon?
Yes.
Councilmember Piana?
Yes.
Councilmember Baker?
Yes.
And Mayor Covey.
Yes, it's unanimous. Congratulations, sir. Thank you. Thank you for coming tonight. Madam Clerk, next item.
We have a public hearing for a liquor license, transfer of Class C liquor license from Gracie's Underground LLC to Grasshopper Pub LLC.
Very good. Mr. B, can you?
Be happy to, Your Honor. Tonight we're going to have 3 different public hearings regarding 3 different liquor licensees, and each one a little bit different variety. This is a transfer of ownership of the liquor license at Gracie's Underground, but they're not going anywhere. It's simply transferring the license from Gracie's Underground LLC to Grasshopper Pub LLC. The police department has conducted an investigation and approves the transfer.
So this is just a transfer from one owner to another owner?
Yeah, this is basically a little paperwork for our friends at the Liquor Control Commission in Lansing.
All right. So Gracie's isn't going anywhere that we know of. They're not going to change it to Grasshopper Lounge or something.
Well, that I don't know,
No.
but there may be someone.
Well, we'll hope they
the
stick
applicant is here, so we can have them expand on
Would
their.
you like to do a 3-minute introduction?
We're going to keep it really short. I'm Linda Mayer. I'm an attorney with Atkinson, Mead & Allen. I'm here tonight representing Grasshopper Pub. I have with me Troy Ramroot, who is one of the 2 members of Grasshopper Pub LLC. Ricardo Hearn was unable to be here with us tonight. The short answer to your question is yes, it will be Grasshopper Pub. It is a change of ownership, not a change of location. We have Troy, who has years of experience front of the house bartending. We have Ricardo, who brings the business experience to the table. They're looking to take that concept, just kick it up a little bit, revitalize it, try to, modernize things a little bit of a cosmetic overhaul, if you will, and try to appeal to a little bit broader spectrum clientele. So we're here just to answer any questions you might have. It's a pretty simple concept, so we don't have a PowerPoint presentation, but hopefully we can help you if you have questions.
I apologize for my faux pas there and talking about the name. I'm very embarrassed. I'm sorry. I like Gracie's and I hang out there sometimes. So, well, what we will do again is hold the public hearing first. That'll be our process. Let the folks in the public have any say they might like to have, and then we'll allow council and others to ask questions. Thank you very much. This is then the time and place for that public hearing for the transfer of that liquor license from Gracie's Underground to Grasshopper. Anyone wish to speak? I'm seeing no one come, so we will close the public hearing and now go to the city council members for any requests for information. Yes.
Ma'am, a couple of questions for the applicant. When Gracie's Underground came in, I believe they came in on an intra-county license transfer, and as part of our criteria, as you just heard, for the Torino Bar, There's certain requirements regarding investments in the property and percentage of food relative to alcohol sales. And while I don't believe that you have to meet those criteria for the transfer, I'd like to know a little bit more about the business plan and the concept and, what types of demands might be placed upon our police and fire departments.
Absolutely. We're aware that there are concerns of the council with respect to food to beverage ratios. We face a little bit of a challenge at that particular property because of the underground location, if you will, and the ventilation. But Troy and Ricardo have been already started looking into options to upgrade the kitchen facilities in hopes of getting a little bit better menu going on in there, getting people some better choices, and really upgrading the food options that are available there. So it is one of the things that they're looking at in terms of trying to attract a broader clientele. With respect to security, they intend to have every minute the door is open, security at the door. Will have tip-stand trained staff. Troy himself has a great deal of experience in front of the bar. He's well equipped to anticipate problems and to deal with them.
Okay, when Gracie's moved in, they told us everything we wanted to hear about how they're going to have an upscale menu and cater to people who liked wine and single malt scotches. Didn't quite turn out that way with video trivia and a little bit different crowd down there. So, I guess, just so you know, we'll be looking for when the license renewal comes up to see how that space has been hopefully transformed into something a bit more positive for the community.
Absolutely. They're looking at really a more high energy, just to do things to sort of attract. That location has some visibility issues, I think, and they're looking at just sort of a hard-hit marketing plan to get out there, to get the word on the streets, to get people in, use radio stations, do different kinds of like little special events things to get a different or broader, I guess, based clientele through the door. And I think once they can get people in there, they can see what kind of environment they're creating, that will go a long ways to achieving what I believe are your joint objectives here.
Very good. Look forward to seeing it.
Thank you.
Other questions?
I would move to approve a transfer of ownership for the Class C liquor license located at 22757 Woodward Avenue, Suite 300, from Gracie's Underground LLC to Grasshopper Pub LLC.
Support.
I think I heard Councilman Lennon second that motion by Baker. Appreciate that. Any discussion, questions, or discussion, I mean? Madam Clerk.
Council members Lennon?
Yes.
Piana?
Yes.
Baker?
Yes.
Galloway?
Yes.
And Mayor Covey.
Yes, that passes unanimously. Thank you. Next item, Madam Clerk.
We have our third public hearing, a request for a new outdoor service, one area to be held in conjunction with the 2010 Class C and SDM licensed business with official permit food located at Club Bart, 22726 and 22728 Woodward Avenue.
I appreciate that. I think I can introduce this one, Mr. Brenner. I asked that this be put on, even it didn't make the time to get on the agenda officially, but I did ask the clerks and the staff if they would be willing to put this on the agenda, and it was a lot of effort, and I appreciate the extra work that you did to speed this on. And I asked that only because summer is here, and thought we would accommodate our longtime business owner, Mr. Starks. And Bart, you are still here. There you are. Why don't you come up, Mr. Starks, and give us a 1 minute or 2 minute presentation on what you have in mind. You're looking in the back, the renovated new alley behind the store, correct?
Yeah, first of all, I have to thank the city of Ferndale, for their foresight in getting rid of a very dangerous eyesore of an alley, because it really has. It's turned out to be great, with the shrubbery and the flowers and the special cement that was put in. Fantastic job. And Dino's, who already has their patio going, mine's going to be of this, similar situation. I should have roughly 7 or 8 tables. And it's very comfortable back there. Being enclosed, it's not like being right on Woodward Avenue or Main Street. You can pretty much sit back and relax and, enjoy the summer evenings. I do have one question, though. You know, I'd just like a little clarification on paragraph 6 in the contract which was signed. And this relates to a $1 million liquor liability policy. I've already got a $1 million general liability policy, which pretty much protects, you know, anyone, especially, you know, I mean, from the city or anyone, you know, that has a lawsuit, protects any liability up to $1 million. And the city's requiring a liquor liability policy of $1 million. And at the same time, there's a, within this here paragraph, it restricts any liability from the city already. You know, if there happens to be a lawsuit brought, God forbid, you know. But, you know, it doesn't hold the city liable. If you have Mr. Christ, I guess he's the only one that has a copy of this here. Anyone have a copy of the contract? Do you? Okay. You know, if you read this, it, you know, it holds harmless anybody within the city itself. Yet at the same time requires me to carry a $1 million liquor liability policy, of which right now I've got the state minimum. In order to carry this here liquor liability, and being in the, we're in the, almost in the middle of the summer here for the next 3.5 months, you know, on the approval of this patio, it's going to cost me rough $1,450, which is roughly $500 a month. You know, to...
Well, I think we got your question.
Yeah.
Mr. Christ, is that standard language that goes into all the contracts for all of the patios that are throughout the city?
It is the exact same language that was provided with respect to this property, which is not a sidewalk. With respect to city property, it's the same document that was approved between the adjacent establishment, Dino's, and the city. The amount is certainly up to the discretion of council, and it's a risk management issue. As Mr. Starks has indicated, there are two insurance policies that are referenced, commercial general liability, but also the liquor liability, which addresses really dram shop issues and sales of alcohol, and it is on the city property. So the proposal, as previously approved by council, was for $1 million, and obviously I did have an opportunity to speak with him earlier this afternoon. He indicated he was going to bring this issue to council's attention.
So, okay.
And just one other point, it's actually paragraph 7 of the agreement entered into between the parties rather than paragraph 6.
Can I ask, is this requirement any different than what we would ask of someone who is putting up a sidewalk cafe on city property in their front yard, so to speak, fronting a major road?
On the sidewalk, the city doesn't typically require additional liquor liability coverage on the sidewalk where there's not going to be service. I think this actually this public hearings with respect to an outdoor service area, a special permit from the LCC to serve out on this this particular area, which is city property. It is a little bit there's a distinction between that and the sidewalk cafes. But in response to your question, that additional policy is not typically included in the sidewalk cafe provisions.
Even the sidewalk cafes that serve drinks?
That's correct.
Is the sidewalk city property? Are the sidewalks?
The sidewalks right of way.
Okay. So there's a difference between
Yes,
a sidewalk on Woodward or 9 Mile and a sidewalk.
It's not a sidewalk. Yes,
it's public.
It's the way the property is owned. It's not right of way.
Gotcha. All right, I appreciate that. Any other, well, you know what, again, to follow the similar process, thanks, Mr. Starks, we will do the public hearing, then we'll come back to council and get a motion.
Okay, can I say one more thing? If I may, you know, if it comes down to the $1 million liability policy, you know, there also is, you know, such things as 500,000, 300,000, maybe a lesser amount could be considered, you know.
Sure, we appreciate that. All right, then let me call to order the public hearing as noticed for the purposes of the outdoor serving area for Club Bart's in the alley behind the restaurant. The public hearing is now open. Anyone wish to speak on this topic? I don't see anyone coming forward, so we'll close the public hearing. Now we're back to the council, and do council members have questions?
Yes. When did Dino's get their patio approved?
I believe it was the same date that council considered both of them about a month and a half ago.
Okay. And was Dino's, just to clarify again, they were assessed the $1 million as well?
It's the exact same.
Exact same.
Agreement was proposed. I believe they executed it.
Okay. So if we considered a different pricing amount, we would have to do that for Dino's as well, right? Since they've already approved theirs? I'm just walking through the process, just trying to figure it out.
If council thinks that there's a different risk, it has the authority to modify the agreement as it deems fit. I mean, there's no absolute requirement for the $1 million. It's subject, dram shop liability, though, is considered a heightened risk, and that's why there was the draft to include that additional coverage to protect the city, which in the perhaps remote, but the possibility that the city was named as an additional defendant in the event of some type of accident.
Right. So if we considered a change in the amount, we would have an unequal amount with another business that's already signed this contract.
Yes.
Sure. Good question. Anything else? Anyone else like to ask?
I would move that we recommend to the Michigan Liquor Control Commission approval for the request from Club Bart for a new outdoor service area to be held in conjunction with a 2010 Class C licensed business located at 22726 and 28 Woodward Avenue in Ferndale, contingent upon a satisfactory report from the police department.
Support.
Thanks. Councilman Galloway makes the motion. Councilwoman Piana seconds. Discussion? All righty. Then, Madam Clerk?
Councilmembers Piana?
Yes.
Baker? Yes. Galloway?
Yes.
Lennon?
Yes.
And Mayor Covey.
Yes, as well. That passes unanimously. Congratulations. Next item, Madam Clerk.
Call to audience.
The call to audience is the section when folks get to speak on any issue that is not on the agenda. It is now 18 minutes after. We will have 30 minutes tops for the call to audience. We ask that you be polite, that you limit your remarks to 3 minutes, and that you share your name and address verbally or written down. And thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. I'm Ann Warner. I live at 250 West Maplehurst, and I'm here tonight in my capacity as president of the Ferndale Library Board, and I have the pleasure of making 2 announcements this evening. One is that today the library received a permanent certificate of occupancy, and our long and sometimes difficult expansion project has come to a conclusion. I also am here to thank a lot of different people, and I'd like to start out by thanking City Council, especially those of you who have supported this project from the very beginning. You know who you are. I also want to thank the voters who approved the millage that provided the money for this project. I want to thank Library Director Doug Raber, who spent his first 2 years here as director steering this project and can now get to the business of actually running a library. And I want to thank the library board, all of the current and former members. The current members can now get to the business of doing what library boards do and not having to try to steer a building project, so we're very pleased about that. I want to thank the building committee that worked very hard for 2 years to make this happen, especially citizens, private citizens like Mary Schusterbauer, and citizens like Pat Dengate and John Starrett before they became library board members, who worked very hard on the building committee to help make this happen. I want to thank the Friends of the Ferndale Library for all that they have done to support the library and for the wonderful party they gave Saturday night, the sneak peek review. Some of you attended. And finally, I want to thank this wonderful woman to my left, Jane Marie Eubanks, who was a great source of assistance and support during the occupancy permit process. Thank you very much from the board. And my second announcement is our grand opening on Saturday, July 10th at noon at 222 West 9 Mile Road, the new, cool, friendly, and free Ferndale Public Library. Thank you.
Congratulations. The sneak peek was really a nice event, Ann. Thanks to your committee. It was very pleasant. I know it was. They did a great job. Thank you kindly. Hi. Yes,
Good
ma'am.
evening. Dawn Pazinski, 479 West Woodland, 29-year resident. I just want to start by saying I'm very disappointed that you seem to be up to your old tricks again by passing a charter amendment that the voters have already turned down. It might be legal, but it's not very nice to diss the voters that way. The second thing I want to talk about is a police officer that was involved in a fatal shooting. I understand, if I may ask, has he been laid off?
I don't believe so.
He was one of the officers.
He was laid off? Okay, considering the fact that he was involved in this incident.
It's being handled internally by the police department. If you have any questions regarding his treatment, I suggest you get with Captain Collins or.
Okay, I will. I just want to make sure he put it on the line.
You need to end the conversation about that officer involved shooting. You need to get with
Okay.
him.
All right. And while I'm speaking of police, I just want to take this opportunity to thank Mike Kitchen for caring about Ferndale for as many years as he did. I want to thank him for his integrity, his honesty, his fairness, his sense of humor, everything he's brought to this city. I'm going to miss him. My family's going to miss him. And thanks, Mike.
Sherry Wells, 315 West Troy. I'm the mother of the teen who you listened to very respectfully a couple months ago when she came up here to tell you that because of Rosie's, she was missing school. The last straw was because Rosie's, which is not loud, Thursday night, Friday night, and Saturday night, as she said, starting at 10, which she understood growing up was supposed to be the start of the quiet hours, that they had done this noise starting at 10 on a Wednesday night. She missed her Thursday class. She can't get to sleep. She can't begin to unwind to get to sleep till after all the noise ends at 3. A neighbor I talked to tonight said there's people, customers, maybe employees out there banging their car doors, yelling and screaming to each other until 3. So she sleeps until 4. She goes to sleep, gets to sleep at 4, sleeps till noon. Well, she missed that class. She wound up having to take a withdrawal passing because of absences. She's been diagnosed with a gastrointestinal problem. When people can't sleep, the body wants something, so it gets food. That sleep deprivation and weight problems go hand in hand, but because she gets ill, if she eats after 9 o'clock, she doesn't have the weight problem. We did find one employee there that, when we called, was on her way to have the DJ turn the bass down even when we called. Her name is Wendy, and we wrote a letter to Mr. Kramer saying that we really appreciate Wendy's attitude and her consideration for the neighbors. There was a Thursday night that was relatively peaceful, and we asked Wendy to find out who was managing that night and thank them too. So we've tried that. Being constant complainers is not good on one's morale. So she's had to take the class over. We've had to pay more tuition. for that. I've talked to other neighbors. Father's Day was loud and booming, and we have people who want to honor Father's Day. That was from like 2 until 7, I think. Another one says, oh, I love the vibrating downtown, very sarcastically. Another neighbor had guests over the loud booming middle of the day, and they were just shaking their head. One neighbor said she's just really sick and tired of the urine, the condoms, the drug paraphernalia. Other neighbors are having problems with the parking. We can't have friends over because there's no place for them to park. One neighbor thought, hey, seeing all these police officers there at noon and evenings, that they're keeping an eye on it, and then she's saying, wait a minute, I think they're getting lunch. Hopefully not on the house. My daughter said, let them know that I'm a peaceable person, but I'm thinking thoughts that are not particularly peaceable. I told you about the Discovery magazine article of the firefighter who was trying to get his neighbors to turn it down. They didn't. 4 people are now dead, and he's in prison. This kind of stuff has been shown that it does just eat away at people. Mr. Kramer told us, neighbors, before he opened up his noise machine, that he had moved his children out of Ferndale into the nice peace and quiet country. Well, I'm a mother that wants the same kind of peace and quiet for my child. We are not asking them to turn it off. As one neighbor said, just have them keep it within their own confines. You don't need a meter to walk across the street and say, okay, if I can hear it loud and clear over here, the customers can more than hear it. In fact, they're yelling at each other to have a conversation, and that's coming in windows all around on all sides of our houses. We just want it down. It shouldn't be able to be heard, the noise. I have a book that said noise and vibration control, and one of the officers I talked to most recently said that the police department has trained them, has led them to understand that there's noise and there's vibration, and they are 2 different things, and the way noise travels, as we know it does in Ferndale, what might be within decibel meters at this point might not be here. The noise can be easily turned down. The vibration needs to be worked on a little bit more so that they can have a little bit of bass, but not so it comes booming through our ground.
Appreciate it, Sherry. I think you're about at the 3 minutes. And you've taken actions at your home to try to ameliorate the sound?
As my daughter said, she got tired of hearing me complain, so she put me in her bedroom on that other side of the house, and she thought she could tolerate it. And where she's sleeping now, it comes through till 3 in the morning. When they turn it down enough to where it's not vibrating into that back bedroom or my basement.
Well, they close
office.
it too, of course, but I'm asking you if you've taken any actions in terms of your home, in terms of sound, fans.
What do you want me to do?
I'm asking you what you have done, because this has been a problem for a long time, and I'm wondering if you've taken any actions yourself, like I have done at my home, to keep the noise from Woodward from waking me up.
So what I've heard you say is that you waste electricity by turning on fans you don't need. I don't need the fan.
Oh, no, I
in
need the
winter.
fan. That keeps the noise down. It's a lovely way to have a nice sound in your bedroom. You sleep well, and it takes away the sound of lawnmowers and diesel trucks on Woodward Avenue.
I agreeably discussed with my next-door neighbor, who used to get up to teach school, and he no longer mows his lawn before 8 in the morning.
There you go, solving a problem. All right, thank you.
Well, just by
Appreciate it.
talking to people, but I'd like to see it work here. You're in charge of having our residents be places we can live. Please, from a mother.
Hi, Ted Kozerski from 129 West Maplehurst. I just wanted to remind everybody about the Ferndale Farmers Market. It's going on every Saturday at the Kulik Center. It's 1201 South Livernois, 10 to 2 p.m. It's still in the beginning stages. We're in our 3rd week, but our 1st year. So it's going to be small, but we have the variety that every other farmers market has, and that's it.
So every Saturday in the summer from 10 to 2 at Kulik, you have a farm or a produce market kind of thing?
Yeah, we also have crafted goods from people local in the area, and all the food is grown in Ferndale.
Outside or inside?
Outside. Okay. It's it's right in the right before the entranceway. Yeah.
Very good. Thanks.
Thanks.
Good evening, City Council, Mayor. My name is Thomas Gagne. I live at 360 West Woodland. I'm just here tonight briefly to let yourselves know and to let other Ferndale citizens know that there is a petition being circulated to repeal Ordinance 1094 that was passed June 14th to transfer controls of the clerk and public safety to the city manager, supervisory and responsibility for that. If anyone has questions or would like to sign that petition, they can contact Tiffany, my wife, Gagne, at TIFGAGNE at Wide Open West, or, and I'm going to give up her digits, you can call her on her cell phone, 515-9848, and she will hook you up with a circulator, or you can arrange a time to stop by the house and sign the petition yourselves. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Dawn Haggart. I live on Bonner Street, corner of Bonner and Camborne. I've been a resident since 1994. Recently, I've been pushing my husband to move from the city because I'm no longer happy with the way that the city is going. And the recent layoff of 10 officers leads me to believe that the city is just becoming more and more concerned about issues that the citizens. I'm a little nervous, so please excuse me. My understanding is that we're leaving a service center, Kulik Service Center, open as opposed to the officers on patrol, and that bothers me. In the recent weeks, we've had an armed robbery, and we've had an incident involving some of our Ferndale police officers. So the laying off of 10 police officers leads me to believe that our response time will go down, thus lowering our rating, increasing my homeowners and automobile insurance. Also, I understand that there is a committee that Ferndale has, the downtown, the DDA, and they collect all the business taxes from the city and put little to no money back into the city. I also understand that they're responsible for, excuse me, I'm reading my notes. I just, pardon me again. My understanding is that this committee doesn't support the city with returning any of those taxes or funds received from some of the social events we have here in the city. Also, my concern with the policemen and firemen being laid off is, again, the response time, and how will this response time reflect on emergency situations, tornadoes, which we have recently had in and around the area, also as well as I'm sorry, again. I'm very nervous. I never spoke to the council over this before, but I'm very dissatisfied. And I've been here since 1994. I own my property, and I invest in my property and so forth. And I just feel like the city just gave me a slap in the face, telling me that a center, a recreational center, is more important than the police officers here. And it just solidifies my want and desire to leave the city. And if I, a family member here in the city, leave, how many more other people will be doing the same thing? And how many businesses, you just brought in another liquor license to the city, and we're short 10 officers now. How are we going to fill that deficit with the people that come around in our city and cause crime, walking up and down my street and so forth? So, although I didn't speak eloquently, I can see by your gestures and facial that you really don't care. So that solidifies my reason for leaving.
Thank you. You were very eloquent. No problem. Thank you very much. And if you find a city that has not laid off any police or fire officers, let us know.
No, they're not laying them off for a Kulik Center.
Well, unfortunately, every city in the state of Michigan is in the same financial straits.
Detroit is as well.
they take concessions.
All right, appreciate it. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. I'm Patrick Dengate. I live on West Maplehurst. This is a happy day for the library with the attainment of an occupancy permit. But it falls to me to sound one sour note on what is a day to celebrate. I need you to know that the library board heard many, many times from our architect and our construction manager that they have never, ever seen a more hostile, unreasonable, or dysfunctional permitting and inspection process. Now, these are two people who have worked on hundreds of large municipal projects over the years. It was embarrassing for us on the library board, very difficult, and a lot of time got wasted that didn't need to get wasted. So moving forward, the library board is perfectly willing and happy to work with the relevant city departments to make this process easier for other people now and in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak? Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor and Council, I'm Gregory Lowry, 621 St. Louis. And I wanted to just make a comment about Ms. Wells' noise issue. And I think that, Mr. Mayor, your comment about living on Woodward is really not the same thing, that when you buy a house on a pre-existing, one of the first streets ever built in the area, that's a major route of transportation, that you're anticipating that there's going to be truck noise and car noise and such that you're going to be dealing with as a homeowner. But for people who are already established in communities and businesses that come into the community and develop or redevelop, expand, that they have an obligation to the residents to not be disruptive, and they certainly should be required to follow the same rules that a residential area is required to follow if the noise that they make impinges on the rights of the homeowners. And so I think that we should really take very seriously these considerations, and I agree with her that that the ability of the patrons to enjoy the music could probably be achieved without disrupting the opportunity for the residents to enjoy actually living in Ferndale. And I think that we really need to consider our residents first. These are people who live here who make Ferndale a place that people want to come to, and even though we need to develop our economy, all the economy in the world isn't going to do us any good if we are chasing off or disfranchising the residents. So I think it should be really taken seriously, and I don't see any reason why business owners wouldn't be willing to or shouldn't be willing to accommodate the needs of the community in that regard. Thank you.
Seeing no one else, we will close the call to audience. Come on up.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Patrick Sheehan, Ferndale Fire, Local 812 Union President. Just wanted to first quill any rumor mills that might happen with the Facebook and all the other talk sites. I'm on vacation, so professional firefighters cannot have a beard on duty, but I'm on vacation, so I'm allowed to right now. I just wanted to, after last 2 weeks ago, the council meeting, there was, with your changes that you've decided to pass with the ordinance change, there was a lot of heat that night. I believe I was one of the people up here talking, and I was pretty hot about it. Had a couple weeks to think about it, and I guess the bottom line is when I think about it is, I attended when Mrs. Piana and Mr. Galloway were running for when he was running for re-election this year. At the Meet the Candidates meetings, and actually even the ones that are currently in seats. I don't ever remember any of you guys ever having a platform and you were going to, in any of your platform, was it that you were going to change the charter or the government structure regarding public safety? I don't ever remember any of you ever saying that. All of you up there have at one time or another said that you think your police and fire in the city are great, and you pound on it and say that you believe in it, and it's wonderful. And so I guess, you know, it's a little confusing as to why we are indeed trying to make a change to end around our charter. And, you know, again, if you want to do that, you should have a platform that's what you're going to do. And you know, this is from the union standpoint, this is a safety issue. It's a concern of ours. It's an operational issue. And it's decisions that are made on our behalf to make sure that we're safe on how we do our job. And, you know, I heard the other night, 2 weeks ago, that nothing's going to change. I heard Mr. Bruner make comments, nothing's going to change. I heard you guys say there was nothing going to change. So I guess my question is, well then, why did we spend lawyer money and time on this to make this change? I mean, you know, I've got 4 members on our department that got layoff notices, and you know, I don't know what the dollar amount was, but I know right now we're trying to save every nickel we can, and if nothing's going to change, why did we make the change? And you know, I guess the only other thing I would say is that, you know, Mr. Covey, you did an interview in Woodward Talk recently. Are you familiar with it? You were quoted in here.
Sure.
Okay, and on, you know, on page 13A of it, it was a very good article. But on 13A of it, you make a quote of to somehow think that the city will be more unsafe because public safety is supervised by the city manager is frankly insulting to our employees. Well, I
think
guess
I
I would.
said that, Mr. Sheehan, not the mayor.
Okay, well, nonetheless, then it's kind of contradicting to the changes that we're making, and because why are we making the change? I mean, to me, I would think that we're making the change, and that's what's insulting to the employees, because I think our employees have done a great job, and our appointed department heads have done a wonderful job. So I just really hope that you guys really reconsider this, and I said I do believe there's some safety issues here. And
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, I have some questions about that too.
Can you describe to me how you will be less effective as a fireman as your chief is reporting to the city manager?
well, I guess I would say that my biggest concern would be that in any form of business, that when you start making decisions solely on financial issues and operational issues don't become the #1 priority, that's a concern to me. And I, quite frankly, don't see from the way things have went in the last 4 or 5 years, I don't really have any reason to have any faith to believe that that's not how all the decisions are going to be basically based on. And I understand there's fiscal issues, and Mr. Bruner has a job to do. But the reality is there is things that need to be done, and they need to be maintained. And I'm more than happy to sit down and talk with any one of you regarding any moves that have been made in the last 4 to 5 years, whether it be auto aid, consolidation talks. I'm all for it, and I would love to spend time with any one of you. I just don't think that maybe necessarily this is the time to do it. But I would have I'm more than happy to do it.
Okay, I don't think that answered the question, but
I believe it did.
all right, I'm just wondering how the chief reporting to the city manager changes your job performance.
Because our chief needs to make decisions immediately, and sometimes he needs to make decisions that are going to be fiscally costly, but he needs to do them immediately, and he needs to keep things going and keep us operationally effective.
But Pat, with a city manager who works here 5 days a week, I guess 50 weeks a year, he can get a response from him in a matter of minutes, whereas you'd have to come to us. We only meet every 2 weeks. So how does transferring some oversight to the city manager make the city less responsive to the fire department? I don't understand that.
I guess I would say that any decision that a department head would make, within 2 weeks, you guys would have a chance to at least meet up with it and say, hey, that was a bad decision, we need you to change
But
that.
2 weeks after the fact, I would think safety issues might be called for
Well,
a
the
more
safety
timely
issues are made
response.
immediately, but right now, I don't know if he says he needs to make a decision, if it's going to be rescinded by the city manager.
Well, you don't know if it's going to be rescinded by the city council, but you'd have your answer the same day or the same with a phone call to the city manager, and it would be 2 weeks after a meeting for the city. So, maybe there's other points, but that one doesn't, responsiveness doesn't seem to make any sense to me. Maybe I'm missing something.
Well, I believe.
I'm going to have to
you
take
are.
charge, I'm afraid, because we are at the end of the time for the public call to an audience. So I appreciate it, Mr. Shahan, and nice that you came on vacation. I said it's nice that you came even though you're on vacation. And I wouldn't worry about the beard. It's not that big a deal. Madam Clerk, what is next?
The consent agenda. Item A, approval of the minutes of the regular meeting held June 14th, 2010, and the special meeting held June 7th, 2010. Item B, approval of marquee maintenance agreement with the Ferndale Chamber of Commerce. Item C, approval of Public Works Leader internal promotion. D, approval of the special events permit for Henry Ford Health System Tour de Ford bike ride on Sunday, September 12th, 2010, from 11:30 a.m. to 1 p.m., and the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation's Run Like Health 5K on Saturday, October 23rd, 2010, from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m., both to be held on the city streets of Ferndale. E, approval to amend the special event permit for the Big Brothers Big Sisters annual picnic to permit the Arby's Charity Tour promotional vehicle and trailer to utilize 8 parking spaces in the southeast parking lot at Martin Road Park on July 31st, 2010, from 1 to 5 p.m. F, approval of the 3-year street pavement repairs contract with Hartwell Cement Company, 21650 Fern Avenue, Oak Park, contingent upon the changes recommended by the city attorney in his memorandum of June 18th. G, approval to adopt the resolution granting a concessionaire license for David Simona of Sky High Distributors to conduct a fireworks stand at 600 West 9 Mile Road in the Ferndale Foods parking lot from June 29, 2010 to July 5, 2010, from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. daily, contingent upon the payment of a $100 permit fee and providing the total amount of pyrotechnic materials on site. And H, approval of the bills and payrolls as certified by the city manager to be paid subject to review by the Council Finance Committee.
Thank you. Well done. Which items would anyone like to remove for further discussion or consideration? None? If not, a motion to adopt?
I would move that we adopt the consent agenda in its entirety.
Support.
Motion made, seconded. Galloway, Baker. Thank you. Any discussion? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Baker?
Yes.
Councilman Galloway?
Yes.
Councilman Lennon is absent. Councilmember Piana?
Yes.
And Mayor Covey.
Yes, as well. Thank you. On to the regular agenda, Madam Clerk.
Item A, consideration of the 2010 Ferndale Woodward Dream Cruise Weekend Street and Parking Lot Closures.
Who would like to introduce this item? Mr. Michael Larry, Dream Cruise Coordinator.
Hello, Mr. Mayor and Mr. Council. As Event Director for the City of Ferndale, I want to announce that the dates of this year's Ferndale Woodward Dream Cruise, the 16th annual, I should say, is for August 19th, 20th, and 21st. And we will be presenting several different fun activities as we do on an annual basis, which is the Ferndale Classic and Cruise and Legends Vehicle Show, the Mustang Alley, the Emergency Vehicle Show, the official Woodward Dream Cruise ribbon cutting ceremony, the Beehive Contest, and the Fast Friday VIP party, which will be a benefit for the Fern Care Free Health Clinic. And so tonight we are proposing for City Council to approve the street and parking lot closures for this year's event.
Okay. Any changes this year from previous years?
Actually, yes, we do. We have decided that based on the fact that in the past 4 years we've done a full weekend of events, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, but have realized after last year that Sunday pretty much everybody's just tired and done with it. And so our attempt to bring people to downtown Ferndale on Sundays have not been productive or effective. So we have decided, based on the area of Woodward to Allen Road on West 9 Mile, instead of doing on Sunday, to go backwards and start it on Thursday, so it would be Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And through discussions through those businesses that are impacted from Woodward to Allen Road on West 9 Mile, we did get a unanimous, a majority support of those businesses that were in agreeing that the idea of bringing people into Ferndale on Thursday is more realistic to get that audience than it is on Sunday, because you do already have a lot of people, not only local but out-of-towners, that are looking for things to do. And Ferndale, we do have a great opportunity to try to draw those audiences into our downtown and hopefully support the local businesses as well. And with that Thursday, we more or less, we feature our very popular Kids Play Zone and the Rockin' Live Entertainment.
Thanks, Michael. Any requests for information or questions from the council table?
How many businesses did you actually get feedback from?
27. That actually, when I walked around, I actually had either an owner or a manager of the stores to sign, basically confirming their support of the proposed plan of Thursday, Friday, Saturday versus Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Are you doing a follow-up survey at the end of the event to make sure that the businesses who supported it now are willing to support it again?
Correct. Within 60 days after the event, not only myself but also the Ferndale DDA, we are going to work together to get that information from the local businesses to find out what did and did not work. Because we really want to do a better job at trying to do what we can to not only bring people into Ferndale but also get them to open up their wallets and support local business. And just also to let you know that on Thursday, the Ferndale DDA's promotional committee will also be helping us in promoting that Thursday as a Ferndale family night.
I've had one or two businesses contact me, and they mentioned that they had some concerns with the free balloon giveaway. It's my understanding that the Woodward Dream Cruise is paying a business to give away those balloons, so a little bit disingenuous in terms of free if the Woodward Dream Cruise is actually paying for it?
Well, it's not any different than if we got an outside vendor and bought the balloons, because we had to get them, so why not support local businesses that offer them already? So, because our sponsorship dollars that we accumulate to make this event happen versus taxpayer dollars is utilized to help make things happen during this event. And I would rather, instead of going online or going to a wholesaler, for example, and saying we want this many balloons and here's a check that we submit through an invoice, why not reach out to the local businesses who offer certain things that we need and see if they can either match or do something better? Because if we had bought the balloons from an outside vendor, that means that then we have to then do the work in getting them out there. Whereas if we go to a local business, such as the Dollar Castle, who is more than happy to help us in this partnership ideal, is not only going to get the balloons, but they're also going to have their staff help passing them out to all the kids for the day. So we're supporting business ourselves, not just talking the talk, we're doing the walk.
Were there any other businesses that were offered fundraising dollars to provide a service or a trinket?
No, actually, Pinwheel Bakery is also going to be doing their kids do-it-yourself cupcake decorating.
The mayor is back, so I'll turn it back over to you. We were just asking questions.
So there's,
No motion on the
in
table.
the request for information, and what other questions would folks like to ask from the table? Anything else? If not, then there would be looking for a motion then to,
I would move to approve the 2010 Ferndale Woodward Dream Cruise street and parking lot closures and schedule of events as presented.
support. Motion made, seconded, Baker Galloway. I'd just like to add that I think it's interesting and a great idea to try something new with going with Thursday. I think that the week tends to build and people tend to get excited, and I think going with Thursday and letting Sunday be a day of rest and getting downtown back to normal sounds like a smart idea to me. So I congratulate you on that innovative and new idea. Anything else?
I do appreciate that you worked with the DDA to talk to the businesses. They do have some avenues, including their email blast that they sent out that, you know, wouldn't necessarily be afforded to the city. That is a DDA email list. So I think it all came together after some trepidation. It came together well.
Mayor, can I also show off the new T-shirt for this
Please
year?
do.
Is the camera?
Can we get a shot of that? Did you get that? A camera? There he is. We see you.
It has a 1968 Pontiac on the front shirt because, you know, obviously Pontiac has been discontinued, so this is to pay tribute to the Pontiac. And we also have, as of today, the official Ferndale Woodward Dream Cruise poster for this year.
Why don't you show it? Yeah, hold it right there, and the camera will zoom in on it.
And these will be available at City Hall, as well as all the official Woodward Dream Cruise merchandise.
All right, well done. Thank you, Mr. Larry. If there's no other discussion, then the motion's made and seconded, correct?
Yes.
Then, Madam Clerk, roll call.
Okay. Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember Lennon?
Yes.
Piana?
Yes.
Councilmember Baker?
Yes.
And Mayor Covey?
Yes as well, unanimously passed. Thank you, Michael. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Regular agenda item B, consideration of provisional appointment of Captain Collins to Chief of Police.
Very good. Mr. Brunner, will you help us introduce or at least begin this process?
Thanks, Your Honor. I'd be happy to. As has been mentioned previously tonight, Chief Kitchen is retiring on Wednesday after a long and distinguished career with the City of Ferndale. It's the police captain's duty to assume control of the department in the absence of the chief, but the council has an opportunity to formally appoint the captain, the provisional chief of police, until such time as the probationary appointment is made. And the resolution before you tonight begins that process.
Very good. What sort of information would council members like to request or ask of?
I guess I would just ask whether Chief Kitchen or Captain Collins have anything they'd like to say.
Actually, yes. If
I'll have plenty to say on my call, Your Honor.
thank you, sir. Captain, would you mind coming up just briefly? And you're obviously well known, but let the people at home see you as well. Captain, we have this item before us, of course, and we are assuming that you are, and we know you are, ready, willing, and able.
That is correct, Your Honor. I am ready, willing, and able, and thankful for the opportunity to serve.
This would begin, I assume, at 1 minute after midnight or at midnight on?
I'm guessing it's going to be at about 4 o'clock on Wednesday afternoon.
On the afternoon of the 30th. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Is he leaving early again?
What questions would council members like to ask of Captain Collins?
I would just like to say I have a lot of faith in you, and I really look forward to working with you in your new role as chief. And I'm sorry to see Chief Kitchen go.
Thank you.
Thank you for your service.
Captain, how long have you been with the police department?
I've been with the city for 33 years, the police department since 1979. Well, actually, with the police department since 1977 as a cadet and then as a patrol officer, sworn officer in 1979.
Okay. And you live right here in Ferndale?
I do.
Any questions? Motion, then?
I'll have a motion.
Please.
Direct the city clerk to do the following on behalf of council. Request the Civil Service Board to authorize a provisional appointment of Captain Collins to Chief of Police, effective 7/1/10 pursuant to Civil Service Rule 5, Section 3, and give notice of writing to the Civil Service Board of the City Council's request to fill the Chief of Police position pursuant to Civil Service Rule 5, Section 1.
Support. Thank you. Motion made, seconded. Councilman Lennon makes the motion. Councilman Galloway seconds the motion. Discussion.
Council members Lennon?
Yes.
Piana?
Yes.
Baker?
Yes.
Galloway?
Yes.
And Mayor Covey?
Yes. Congratulations to our new.
Thank you, sir.
Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Regular agenda item C, consideration of financial software bid award.
Again, Mr. Bruner, we're making you work tonight.
Thanks, Your Honor. I'm going to turn it over here to Ms. Eubanks shortly, but this is actually the culmination of a lot of hard work on her part and the part of others to replace the city's aging, to say the least, financial software. This is really going to help us become more efficient and more effective here in City Hall in our financial and our information technology operations throughout the city. We went through a selection process, and the Assistant City Manager is proposing buying a system from New World Systems, and they are here tonight and have a short presentation. So if Ms. Eubanks wants to have any further introduction, we'll do that first, and you don't have to if you don't want to, but you could introduce the folks from New World.
Jason Mabel behind me is from New World Systems, and Charles to my right is going to go through a brief presentation of what the software will be able to do for us.
Jessica Cooper investigation, I think, need to be short, I think,
I'm afraid you're going to need to use the microphone unless...
There's a mic right in front of you.
Cordless?
There's a mic
Oh,
right in front of you.
there you go. Thank you.
Good evening. This is New World Systems Logis.net application. This is a software solution developed actually in Troy, Michigan. We're a local company. We've been in business for about 28 years. And we supply government software to over 1,500 municipalities across the country in 48 different states. The software that you're seeing was developed about 7 years ago. It's a browser-based technology, which is the current standard that most software is being developed on. This software is fully integrated. Our financial management solution has multiple options, including things like the annual budget processing, full procurement processing, project information, along with our human resource application and our utility billing application. So it is a fully integrated solution. Information is available with no software required for the user. So they use a browser just like they would on the internet. It is not an internet-based solution. The solution lies within your firewall, but it is a solution that uses the similar technology that you're used to. So I like to show some information about how easy it is to retrieve information and gather information. This is an inquiry screen, and inquiries are used to gather information about specific pieces of information. So I'm going to go into a general ledger account. This would be how simple it is to go into a GL. I'm going to go into our general fund in the accounting and finance department, and I'm going to look up the office supply items for fiscal year 2009. When I click on that, it's going to show me what my budget was, amendments, encumbrances, and expenses. All of these numbers are hyperlinked. So if I had a question about one of these numbers, I can click on that number, and it will show me the individual transactions that make that number up. If I have a question about one of these transactions, you can see they're from accounts payable, I can click on that transaction, and it will show me the information related to that invoice, including the vendor, who it was, the date they made it. I can click on the invoice information to gather additional information like the type of purchase that it was. You can see that it was a computer. I can also see the purchase order that generated that invoice, and you can see the approval history of who approved this. Everything within the software is done through online approvals. There's no manual approvals required, so approvals can be done online. Information can also be summarized. So if I wanted to see how we've done over the previous 5 years, I can click the 5-year trend button, and it's going to show me the previous 5 years adopted, amended, and actual balances. All of the data is fully integrated with Outlook and Office tools. So if I right-click on a graph that I see, that graph can be emailed or saved as a picture. If I right-click on any of the data, I can download that data to Microsoft Excel with just a simple click. That is a back office function that your finance department might use or that a department person could use to look up what their balances were. Everything is security based, so they would only see information related to them. But we do have front office functions that can be used as well. With our utility accounts, you can set up a citizen lookup of their utility information so they can see their current balance. They can view previous bills, including previous bills that they may have had down here. They can view consumption information related to this, so they can print or reprint a bill that they may have had. And this would be the bill that prints out right from your system, so it would have your watermarks on it, your logos on that. The other thing to keep in mind is this is a generic page. This page will look like it's a web page from your website, so it will hold the logos and the headers and the footers that you currently have on your website itself. We can also do consumption analysis if they wanted to see their consumption over time. They can see account history for this as well. So if they wanted to see all of their bills and all of their payments over time, they can see all of that information and can reprint any one of their bills from any date that they choose. So they can see their history of that. They also can make a payment from here. So they can use their credit card and make a payment using that, and this will then update the system in real time. If they make a payment at midnight in the system, it will update the system as part of that that payment when it comes in. The next morning, they would see all payments made overnight within the treasurer's office. This is the utility side of it. We also have a supplier side. So your vendors also have if I can type. Guess I can't. Staples. We'll come back to that one. We also have a employee side of this, where employees can go in and look up information about themselves as well. So employees can go in and they can view accrual information to see how much vacation time, comp time, sick or vacation time they have. They can view their emergency contact information, their dependents. They can reprint their checks as well to see if they need the last 3 check stubs. They can reprint that information. They can view your current withholdings, any benefits or deductions that they have. They can also manage information like their direct deposit information and request changes be made online. So instead of having manual papers and manual forms, they can request that those be electronically done as well. Can I answer any questions?
How do city councils typically utilize this program?
Most of them don't, but they there are generally people who will access this. I will tell you, we've had some tech-savvy council members who will grab the inquiry information and be able to access it that way. If they want to look up information related to a specific department, a specific line item, they can go into that information and gather it that way.
So we could set up the back office operations so that council could go in there anytime and look at it without making changes and screwing up the accounting or something.
Yeah, absolutely. The inquiry screen that I showed you that had the graphs and the drill down capability, that is a back office. No update options are allowed in there or even available in there. So those are available to you as a council member. And the inquiries that I showed, it's not just a general ledger inquiry. You can also look up vendor information. So if you want to see who we've paid over the previous year, if you want to look up a specific invoice, you can look that information up as well.
What other questions would folks like to have? J. Marie, obviously this is a system you like, you're happy with. And the clerk's office, are they content or pleased with this? Do you know?
I haven't heard any complaints.
Haven't heard any complaints. Mr. Bruner, does this set the stage to continue our goal of integrating the city and having more modern websites and access by the public to pay bills and such?
It most certainly will. The online capabilities with this are really going to make it easier for our residents to access information without calling or visiting City Hall.
So when you say it's browser-based, but it's not web-based, so everything's on our servers, there's no, whatever security issues are dealt with at our firewall, it's not a cloud solution?
No cloud.
Okay.
No, when we say browser-based, all that means is it's kind of the picture frame that displays our software. The data itself resides within your firewall and has your security components. What it means is you don't need software on the individual machines that run our software. So I don't have to load anything, or I don't have to do updates to individual machines. So from an IT standpoint, it's a much easier maintaining system, or a much easier system to maintain.
And have you, in your proposal here, had an opportunity to review our, safety, or, firewall procedures, and are they, where you expect them to be for the operation of this type of system?
I haven't personally reviewed them. I can't talk to that.
That is part of the proposal, that they will be reviewing our system and be recommending the appropriate hardware to go along with the system that is indicated in my letter as well. That'll be our first step.
And I believe in the materials that were provided to us, we had the option of converting current data into the system, and it's the recommendation not to go forward with it?
No, it would be to go forward with it. So we have some historical data, some comparative data. Particularly, that's important for our utility customers.
Okay, great. Well, it looks good.
I have a few questions too. I think the software is pretty nifty, and I'm excited for us to install it. But I do have a few questions, in particular about the BSNA. We have a BSNA system which handles community development in the Community Development Services Department, and I know that there was some compatibility with the BSNA system with our current tax system. Let me know if that's true or not. And I was wondering if this new system with New World, that the BSNA system that we have downstairs with planning will be compatible with the New World system. And I know that the New World system has a community planning component that we could transfer to, so I'm just wondering, are these systems going to be talking to each other?
Yes, they will be talking to each other. And yes, both our tax system and our permitting system is currently with BSNA, and that was one of the vendors that we considered for software. However, what we have right now with community development is the pervasive version of BSNA, which is an obsolete version. So they are going to have to upgrade, and that will be a decision that we'll need to make sometime soon, whether we stay with BSNA for that or whether we convert that as well to New World. The county is issuing an RFP. In fact, I'm supposed to be out at the county on Wednesday to talk to them about the needs that the various CVTs consider are important for the RFP for tax and assessing services. So there's no guarantee that the county is going to stay with BSNA. So are they compatible? Can they talk to each other? Yes, but there is the possibility that they are not going to be with BSNA either.
Right. The reason I ask is because online permitting is the 21st century way of handling building inspections and permitting, and this is somewhere where we need to move forward on as well in terms of future planning, so I want to make sure that we have compatibility issues.
I talked about that briefly already with Jason, because we were already involved in this process with the financial software. We didn't concentrate on that because right now that system works okay enough, but it will be part of the discussion. This rollout is expected to take about 9 months, so along the way we will be talking about permitting as well.
Okay. And then one final question. This is more lack of my IT skills. How do departments not housed in the City Hall access the software if it's not web-based?
Most organizations of your size will have some type of internet connection back to your home IT center. So either it's a fiber optic line or there's some type of connectivity back to your IT centers. So that's how most of them do it. And there's a dozen different ways to accomplish that, whether that's radio towers, whether that's direct fiber optics, whether that's leasing lines from private providers. There's multiple ways to do it.
And I had specific questions about the actual contract itself, but I don't know if we're there yet. Are we there yet? Okay. If you don't mind, I'm going right into some questions that I had on the actual quote. Can you tell me what the demonstration site discount is for the $29,000? It's a
Again, my name's Jason Mabel. Good evening. The demonstration site discount is really a discount we provide customers in this business of local governments. References are very important. We just ask that, if you're a happy user of our system, you'll spread the word and allow people to call you, ask you how you like the system, and really that's it. There's really nothing under a contractual obligation or anything like that. It's more of a casual agreement.
Okay. And then I wanted to talk about change orders. And with large installation projects with software, lots of changes can happen. And I was wondering, what is the probability that we're going to have change orders? Is this something that we need to plan for additional costs? And are there any examples where you've had to do change orders in other cities? So I want to make sure that this is the price we pay and that we're not actually increasing the price over time within the 9 months.
Charles comes from implementation, so he might.
I'll deal with it from the New World side if you want to deal with it internally. But change orders happen for a variety of reasons. One of the most common reasons for change orders tends to be personnel changes or objective changes with a project. We've had projects where we've gone out and trained a group of people or a primary payroll person 3 or 4 times, and that person leaves for whatever reason. We have to go back and train someone new. You may have a different direction or a different way that you decide to do something after a decision's made. Those type of changes generally just change the scope of training hours required. One of the nice things about the vendor that you're selecting is that we're down in Troy. So having us come out for a day doesn't cost you any more than having us come out for a week. We have clients in California that have to plan very differently for their implementations because we have to fly the 5 hours to get there in order to do that. Most of our staff is here. That's typically what change orders are. The contract has fixed price for software, fixed price for project management, fixed price for conversions. Really the only variable cost is that training cost in there.
Thanks for all your hard work on this.
I just have one question. It's a question for Jane Marie. I don't imagine that our technology team will know where we've budgeted going forward to handle the annual support costs. So I'm wondering, are these costs any higher than what we've paid in the past to support our current system, which I know has been kind of a bear? And if these annual support costs will be coming out of our operating fund, or if these are carrying costs that are somehow going to be assigned to capital, or how will that work?
They would be mostly between the general fund and the water sewer fund.
Okay.
Because water sewer fund is a major portion, as an enterprise fund, a major portion of the functionality of this. So some of the costs will be assigned there. The rest will be general fund as it has been in the past. Are the costs slightly higher than what we're paying now? Yes. We're supporting a 30-year-old system. So, whatever things we were going to break, we've already broken and had fixed. So, there really isn't notable ongoing costs. There's more cost to this because there's more functionality. We'll have the ability for, departments to look up information that they've never been able to do before. Every time we give a payables listing to the council, you get a paper list. Now you'll be able to look up and see an actual invoice. And not that, Scott will appreciate this, because now I will not have to answer his questions about payables, because he'll be able to look them up himself. So, there is a lot more functionality, and with that, there will be higher costs. But comparative to what other systems cost for service, yes.
Thank you.
All set? Anything else from the table? Good, Councilwoman? Then is there a motion for that item?
I move to approve the attached proposal from New World Systems to provide financial and related software to the city at a cost not to exceed
$355,500 charged to the Public Improvement Fund capital outlay.
Support. Motion made, seconded, Piana Galloway. Discussion.
This is something we've been saving for and planning for several years, as it says in the memo, and I'm very excited to see it coming to fruition at a time when we really desperately need to be able to let people do more self-service
Yes.
Types of things.
This has definitely got efficiency all over it. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Council members Piana,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Galloway,
Yes.
Lennon.
Yes.
And Mayor Covey.
Yes as well. Thank you. Passed unanimously. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Council liaison reports, if any?
Any reports on any of those organizations? 8 Mile Boulevard, Suburbs Alliance, Mayor's Association is off for the summer. SEMCOG, True, or Woodward Avenue Action Association? We're all good? Then we are to call to council.
Yes.
From the Fire Department, Chief Sullivan.
Mayor, council, not a whole lot. We did have a structure fire over the weekend, but I was up north, so I haven't been updated by the officers that handled it. So I couldn't tell you exactly what the damage in that was. We are doing a little reorganization, like City Hall and that. We're adding some phones in at the fire station, peak hour efficiency, move personnel around, set up some new offices so we can get the flow of business running a little bit better out of there. And other than that, that's all I got, unless you have any questions.
Congressman Levin got us a grant to help us towards the purchase of our next big item. Is that working with the?
We're working on with 2 grants. We have the exhaust removal systems, which firefighter Sheehan, with his vast heating, cooling background, understands that lingo. So he understands the contractors, and they can't pull any wool over my eyes. So on CFMs and all that stuff. So we're looking at 2 different systems. One's a giant filtering system for the whole building, and then the other one is the aerial. We're looking right now to spec out the aerial and get that set up. And I've had all kinds of people contacting me. They must have a list when grant money goes out, because everybody in the world has contacted me.
So they know we have the funding. Okay.
I know more about vehicles now than I ever wanted to know about an emergency vehicle business. But we got to spec ours out to fit us. We're looking to set one up that fits our potential consolidations in the future, and that's something that's useful across the board, no matter where we are in the near future.
Thanks, Chief. I don't see anyone from the Department of Public Works. Anyone back there? Don't see the Recreation Department either. Let me go to the clerk next, if I may. Anything from the clerk's office?
Yes, I would like to note that the close of registration to vote in the August 3rd primary is Tuesday, July 6th, so anyone who is not registered should get registered by that time. You can register at the clerk's office or any Secretary of State branch or the county clerk.
This is to vote in the Democrat or Republican primary August 3rd.
That is correct.
We have governor races and many other races. County commissioner races. Thank you, Councilman. Mr. Christ, anything from the city attorney's office?
Nothing tonight, Your Honor.
We're saving the chief for last. City manager.
Mr. Vitaitis asked me to announce that even though city offices will be closed on Monday in observance of the Independence holiday, we'll still be collecting trash on Monday. So if your normal trash day is Monday, set out your trash.
Still is.
Still is, right. Not changing the trash collection schedule next week. I also want to take this opportunity, since she's here, to thank Ms. Eubanks for her hard work on this ERP RFP. They don't write themselves, and this has been a long process, something we've been talking about doing for a long time. I'm glad to bring that project to this point, all while she's, taking over Treasury and taking on additional jobs, as many of us here at City Hall are as we reorganize. And congratulations to Chief Kitchen on his retirement after a long and distinguished career. So I know you're about to turn it over to him, but I want to be the first to congratulate him.
All right. Thanks, Mr. Bruner. Chief Kitchen, why don't you come on up? I see a lot of members of your beautiful family here tonight. The floor is yours, sir.
That's almost all the members of my beautiful family, Your Honor. Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I hope you don't mind if I take my final call to thank some folks and make a few comments. First of all, I'd like to reintroduce you all to my wife, Mary, my daughters, Michelle and Maren. my mother Valerie, and making a brief guest appearance was my son-in-law David and my grandsons Jason Deacon, who I promised would be a short meeting, but for the 100th time in 35 years, I was wrong. The presence of my mother tonight is important because between her municipal career as city clerk and my retirement as a police officer on June 30th, we will mark the culmination of 63 years of combined and continuous service to the city of Ferndale. As you can see, she's doing just fine in her retirement and as a great-grandmother. Tonight, I would first like to thank the people, colleagues, and dignitaries who for the past month have been kind enough to call, send cards, congratulate me via web postings, or to invite me to special lunches and events to acknowledge my retirement. I'm still trying to respond to every kindness personally, which I intend to do. Thanks to all, and I'll see some of you yet at still more events in the future. At the very top of the list of people to thank are the Ferndale police officers who have always made Ferndale a safe and pleasant place to work and to raise a family since 1918. These are the men and women who put it on the line 24/7, 365 days a year, and who have done so continuously since the beginning. To the 38 active who still exist, to the many honorable retirees, and to all of those who served since the beginning, I offer my humble yet full gratitude. Ferndale does not exist without the Ferndale Police Department and exceptional men and women, sworn, non-sworn, and staff who make it work. Next, I would like to thank the elected officials who have supported me and the Ferndale Police Department, not just for my 14 years as chief, but for my entire career as a Ferndale police officer. Especially among that group, I would like to thank then Councilman and former Mayor Robert Paskowski, who had the courage and foresight to nominate me to the office of Chief of Police almost exactly 14 years ago on his call. The past 14 years has been a magnificent period for the Ferndale Police Department, of which I am extremely proud. Even more importantly, however, is my gratitude to the citizens of Ferndale who up till now have had the wisdom to recognize the critical nature of our mission and to offer their unconditional support for the Ferndale Police Department. Their critical decision-making at the ballot box, the constant attention, and the involvement of those who understand was critical, not to mention the unending stream of thank you cards and letters and tons of goodwill during the holidays. All made it a pleasure to have been of service to our citizens and visitors for the past 35 years. And I say that on behalf of all the men who have served in this fine organization since our beginning. It has been a pleasure to serve. Absolutely, most importantly, I must thank my wife and family. Because for those of you who are unfamiliar with the life of a career police officer, there are many, many more lows and highs that, in combination with long hours, dangerous missions, shift work, missed holidays, family events, 3 in the morning phone calls, and so on, puts a tremendous stress on a family unit that supports their husband and dad. No police officer can make it 35 years without the safety net of a family, and I'm proud to have them here with me tonight. Finally, I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge my predecessors, especially Chiefs Joe and Pat Sullivan, Russ Ray, and Red Gary, the chief who hired me way back when. They all paved the way for me to take the torch from Joe Sullivan and to carry on their mission of compassion, professionalism, and strength, which we have managed to accomplish with high distinction during the past 5 decades. With that, it gives me great pleasure to pass that torch along to my friend and Captain Tim Collins. As I have strived to maintain the high standards that define the Ferndale Police Department during my 14 years, your honorable body, with the promotion you've made tonight, has given Ferndale its only chance to carry on this mission and to survive. During my tenure, the Ferndale Police Department could not have been successful without the steady hand of the best number 2 in the business, now Chief Timothy Collins. Until 1996, when I became chief, the challenges ahead, unlike 1996, when I became chief, the challenges ahead for Chief Collins and the Ferndale PD are daunting, perhaps insurmountable. There is, however, no better man for this job at this time. He is a calm, pragmatic, intelligent, and brave leader, something that Ferndale desperately needs right now. I will be giving Chief Collins my unequivocal support in my civilian life, and we'll be watching very carefully the extent to which he and the Ferndale Police Department are allowed to be successful in the future. Thank you for this opportunity. Tim, you want to come up here? Congratulations. a little levity at this time is called for.
Sure.
I own no parking sign for my car.
Oh, this is that cool.
When they went up, he put his down. I got mine up.
Very, very nice speech, Chief. Very classy speech. Let's go a little bit out of order. Let's let the council members speak if they wish to Chief Kitchen, and then we'll do our final call. Mr. Berner, I think you spoke. Mr. Chris, do you want to share anything?
Well, very briefly, Chief, thank you for the opportunity to work with you for the last 12 years. I hope you enjoy your retirement. I know for myself, I've learned a lot in working with you and with Captain Collins, and I appreciate your friendship. Best of luck.
Councilwoman?
Chief Kitchen, I've worked with you for a very short period, and I would have to say probably one of the toughest times in the history of Ferndale and with our budget. And I've had a pleasure of getting to know you briefly, and I wish you the best in retirement. And I hope you do relax and go out there and enjoy the sun.
Councilman?
Well, congratulations and thanks, Chief, for all your service. I've really enjoyed working with you most of the time. Our relationship, I think, has had some ups and downs from the time I first got into the Police and Fire Board, but you've certainly earned my respect, my gratitude. I hope I can count you as a friend and look forward to seeing you in the community.
Councilwoman?
All right, if the chief gets choked up, there's absolutely no hope for me. So thank you, and I appreciate, as always, your candor, your honesty, and how can I say, your inability to hold back in advocating for your department. I do appreciate it. It has done nothing but educate me about the importance of our police and the wonderful job that they do. So I would propose, if my colleagues would agree, that now that both Chief Schmidt and Chief Kitchen are leaving us, I won't count Chief Kitchen out quite yet, that we as a city do a resolution of thanks to both of our appointees. I would ask our city clerk, if my colleagues agree to that, to prepare it for the next meeting.
Of course. Is there unanimous support for that?
Definitely support.
Thank you. Michael?
Well, it's wonderful to see your family here. Known for a long time. Very difficult for me. We go back a long way. I'll leave it at that. I'll get with you. I won't be able to finish.
I don't want to see you cry, Councilman.
It's going to make me cry.
Sorry.
Oh, wow.
We got plenty of time. Mike's not going anywhere. Chief, thank you. I met you when you were the captain, and Chief Sullivan introduced me to you, and I remember hanging out with you and Bob Peskowski at the WAB, having some beers way back in the 90s. You have a long, distinguished career of service to our city. You have much to be proud of, but I would like to particularly thank you for protecting the city. This is a gem of a city, and you and your department has protected the city in good times and bad. Thank you for a classy speech. Anything else you'd like to share, Councilwoman? Any other comments or call to council?
Oh, call to council? Are we moving on?
I think everyone got to speak.
I do have a few things to say on call to council.
Please.
I wanted to say that I had a very interesting and educational experience with the police department a week ago, thanks to Captain Collins, now Chief Collins. That's going to take a while to change. He organized a ride-along for me, so I sat with, and on bar detail as well,
Friday night, 2 Fridays ago, and I did a 3-hour car detail with Officer Frazier from 8 to 11 o'clock at night, riding around the city, and then I switched to bar details going from 11 o'clock to 2 p.m. or 2 a.m. And I've always wanted to do a ride-along, and another mayor around here recommended that I do it. And I really wanted to get a better understanding of what the police department does on a daily basis and what the police officers go through. I also wanted to understand and see the car equipment. I've never been in a police car, thankfully. And it was all a great experience, and I wanted to do a call out to, again, Captain Collins for organizing it. Officer Frazier, who allowed me to spend time in his car for 3 hours. He was a very caring, compassionate teacher and answered all of my questions and taught me about tactics and took me around the city of all the things that I wanted to see. And then I did bar detail with Officer Brignoli and Sergeant Brown, and I really appreciate them taking the time and care to teach me a little bit about what you do. So thank you.
Thanks, Councilwoman. There was, I think, a teachable moment, too. Did you
want
to mention the
you know what? Thank
bicycle
you very much.
accident?
You know, you totally forgot my other part, so thank
okay.
you for reminding me. During the ride-along, I saw quite a few incidences, and the one that was most disturbing to me, because I'm a bicyclist, is that a pedestrian was hit at the corner of 9 and Woodward. They were uninjured, but the bike was mangled, and the rider was not wearing a helmet, and thankfully the rider again was uninjured, and it was I think hit and run, so the car sped off, and the driver was later arrested. But also throughout the evening, Officer Frazier and I commented how bike friendly and how many bicyclists there were on a Friday night. It was warm. And as the night went on, I realized, as an observer in the car, that it was getting harder and harder to see the cyclists. And then I learned that there is actually a citation in the city of Ferndale that you can get a ticket up to $110 if you are caught riding your bike without a light. And so I encourage all cyclists in Ferndale and those who visit Ferndale to get a bike light. It is so important, not only for the cops to see you, but also for all the other drivers out there as well. And I wanted to show, I got these at the downtown Ferndale bike shop, and they are $15 each, and this one goes on the front and back. And this is all about just being visible. It doesn't really give you a lot of light to see, find your way around. You're still navigating with these street lights, but at least cars can see you. And it's so important that our cyclists have these. So please, $15 per light at the downtown Ferndale bike shop. It's the only place in Ferndale where you can get a bike light. So unless you wanted to travel out of town. So please wear a helmet and get a bike light.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Scott?
Nothing from me this evening,
Anything
right?
else? Mike, anything else? No. Kate, anything else?
Just following up on the resident, she's left now, but who came up and said that she didn't generally speak at council, and she was trying to, I think, get a point across that was unfortunately a little bit hard to follow. She was stringing together several different things that had come up in our budget discussions that didn't necessarily all hang together. And I would encourage that resident, as well as any other residents out there who may not yet have taken a look at some of the slide presentations that were put together during the budget process. They are all still online. I just double-checked. There's a link from the homepage of our website. It explains what each department and what each budget department, because there are many more budget classifications than there are departments in the city, is responsible for, where those funds come from and where they go to. So just to encourage residents who may have heard one thing or another from neighbors or online, to do some of their own research, take a look at some of these presentations, which are laid out in as close to layman's terms as you can possibly put budget information. On our website, the information, I believe, is also at the library. All of our past council meetings are also streaming online. So hopefully some of those questions that she had might make a little bit more sense if she takes a look at how those things fit together in the budget.
Very good. Councilman Lennon, did you get to go yet?
Oh, yes, no, I have nothing.
I apologize. Real quick, that Mr. Bruner, I had a question for you.
Yes, sir.
Because the one speaker was asking about layoffs, and the layoffs did come. Have they?
The layoffs took effect last Friday.
Last Friday. Now, I thought I saw in the paper that Royal Oak was able to alleviate some of their layoffs. Has the city of Royal Oak been able to call back or cancel some of their layoffs?
They have delayed several of their layoffs, and they have reached a concessionary agreement with their professional and technical employees union. So that's
Okay.
going to save the city money and save jobs.
So the way I read the story was that because the unions in Royal Oak began to make some concessions, they were able to cancel the layoffs.
Well, there's only one union in Royal Oak specifically so far that's made concessions. They've delayed a number of other layoffs pending further negotiations. As we did here, we delayed our layoffs for a month, but unfortunately, we're not able to make any additional progress during that time.
Okay, Madison Heights did the same. They had initial layoffs of police and fire, but they were able to halt the layoffs because they got concessions from the police and fire unions?
They were, yes. Madison Heights, Hazel Park, Oak Park were all able to reach concessionary agreements with their unions.
Okay, so is it too late for Ferndale, or are we still able to cancel the layoffs and rehire the police officers back?
We can certainly recall them at any time when the city's financial situation allows it.
But how can that happen? Can that happen in any other way other than?
It's going to require the unions to negotiate some concessions.
All right. Thanks. I just want to make that clear that it's not just our decision on whether or not we have to reduce the force.
And Your Honor, while we're on the subject, I'll point out the fact that myself, Ms. Eubanks, Ms. McGrath, Mr. Vitites, who's walking through the hall, are all taking a 5% pay cut on Thursday. Our health care benefits are going to be reduced, and none of the city's unions have agreed to either of those proposals thus far, although we've been meeting and talking about that since February.
Well, the council members have also taken 10% cuts in their compensation. I did want to share, I was in Hazel Park on Saturday. Congressman Sandy Levin was in town, and so I got to meet with him and also some of the other elected officials from Hazel Park. He sends his greetings, and on a related note, Senator Carl Levin, our great senator's birthday is tomorrow, so we wish Senator Carl Levin a happy birthday. I remind you that texting is going to soon be illegal in Michigan while you drive. Is that correct? When's that start?
July 1st.
July 1st. So if you like to text, great. If you like to drive, great. Just don't do them at the same time. It is illegal. And with that, we are going to suspend the open section of the meeting and go into closed session
We
for
need a
the,
motion for closed session?
after we get the motion
I would-
to do that. Thank you.
Sure thing.
One day I'll get that
I
right.
would move that we move into closed session for the purpose of a strategy and negotiation session connected with the negotiation of a collective bargaining agreement pursuant to Section 8C to consider material exempt from discussion or disclosure by state or federal statute pursuant to Section 8H of the Open Meetings Act, MCL 15.268.
Support. Motion made and seconded to go into closed session.
We need a roll call vote.
Madam Clerk?
Council members Baker?
Yes.
Galloway?
Yes.
Lennon?
Yes.
Tiana? Yes. And Mayor Covey?
Yes, as well. We'll take a 3-minute break. We need to clear the room. Thank you for coming, everybody. The cameras will go dark.